In this picture we have the carpenter. Now in the previous pictures we've seen the food that man eats and his clothing, and now we're going to look at the places that man lives. In the very beginning of time, people lived in caves. Here's a cave here, number 1. And then after that they built booths or huts. Here's one here, number 2. Right? It's not really a house, so it's just like got leaves on the top to keep the rain off. And after that they lived in tents, and here are some tents. And finally they built houses for themselves. The woodsman out in the forest, he cuts down trees. Here he is cutting down a tree, and to do that he uses an axe or a hatchet. Here's the hatchet in his hand, or an axe, and he cuts down the tree and he removes the boughs. We don't want those. He removes them, and then he cleaves the knotty wood. This is a great big piece of trunk. He cleaves it. That means he splits it using a wedge. Here's the wedge. It's a triangular shaped piece of metal which he puts into the wood, and he's standing here and he's hitting it down with a beetle. A beetle is a great big lump of wood on the end of a stick, and he bangs down on here, and this forces the wedge into the wood, and then it splits. And then with the split pieces of wood he makes wood stacks here. Right, these are stacks of split wood. A carpenter, he does a different job. Here's the carpenter. He squares the timber. Now once the wood has been cut down, it's now called timber when we're using it to make into something. And he uses a chip axe. This is a chip axe to square the wood, to make it flat on the sides. And the chips fall down. These are wood chips on the ground. Once it's been squared, he saws it with a saw. This saw's got 2 handles, one on this side and one on that side, and a man would stand on each side, and the saw would go backwards and forwards, and he would saw the wood. And from the sawdust falls down on the ground. After he's done that, he lifts the beam up onto trestles. Here's one trestle, and here's the other trestle. And he can do that with a ratchet. It's quite heavy, so he turns the handle here, and this pushes the beam up. And he fastens it with cramp irons, C-R-A-M-P, and this is to stop it falling off. Right, he fastens it in place with cramp irons, and then he marks it out. Here's a line, so to make sure that everything's straight, he stretches a thread on it, a line, to make sure that everything is nice and straight. Then after he's got his beams, he frames everything together here to build the frame of the house, and he frames the walls, and these are joists here and beams, and he fastens them together with pins. You can see there's one here, there's another pin here, and that holds everything together to stop it all falling to pieces.